Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone and Miss Nisrina. Today we are excited to present a comprehensive summary of the book's Business Intelligence Guide book from Data Integration to Analytics by Rick Sherman. Okay, next. Before we dive into the first chapter, let us introduce our team. Our team consists of 6 members. And the first, my name is Olivia Intan Puspita. Next.
My name is Desina Bektisteningsih. Next.
My name is Aprilia Finandar-Kita. Next.
My name is Natasha Ferdurdianti. Next.
My name is Siva Anissa Swasti. And the last one is?
My name is Yasmin Alifta.
Okay. To begin, we will start with the fundamentals. This first part covers why data is a critical asset, the importance of analytics, how to build a solid business case for a BI project, and the architectural framework that holds it all together. To explain this foundation, I would like to invite our first presenter, Rivka, to cover the summary of chapter 1 through 4. Rivka, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for Miss Olivia for the introduction. And I'll begin our presentation by explaining chapter 1, and the title is Data, Information, and Business Demand for Analytics. This chapter opens with one powerful concept, that is data. In the digital age, data has become one of the most valuable assets in this world. It is often called the new oil or the new sun, just as oil powered the industrial revolution. Data powers the digital revolution. Companies today generate data every second from sales, customer interaction, websites, and even smart devices. But the truth is, data alone has no value unless it is transformed into information and knowledge that can drive business action. The author explains that we are now living in a data flood where information grows too fast for humans to handle. This is known as the big data era, defined by three Ps. There is the first is volume. The meaning is that massive amount of data being created. The second is velocity. That is the high speed of data generation. And the last one is variety. That many forms of data from text to video to social media. Because of this, the challenge is now how to collect data, but how to use it. That's where business intelligence or BI becomes essential. Business intelligence transforms data into insight, so dashboards, reports, visualization, and analysis tools. It helps businesses answer key questions like what's happening, why did it happen, and what should we do next. The chapter also introduces the 5 Ps of data quality. And that one must be clean, consistent, consummate, current, and comprehensive. Without these qualities, even the most advanced analytical will fail. Finally, the author explained the importance of data warehousing, a centralized system that stores and organizes all data in one place. It acts like the foundation for BI, ensuring the information is accurate, consistent, and easy to analyze. And the summary for the chapter 1 is emphasize that data is power, but only when it's properly managed and analyzed through business intelligence. And next. I'll continue with chapter 2, and the title is Business and Technical Justification for Business Intelligence. This chapter focuses on why organization needs to invest in BI and how to justify it effectively. The author explained that many BI projects fail not because of poor technology, but because of weak justification and unclear goals. To build a successful BI initiative and company A company must create a business case that answers several questions. What problem are we solving? Who will use the system? What benefits will it deliver? How will we measure success? The chapter divides justification into two main areas: business justification and technical justification. For a business perspective, BI must provide real value, like reducing costs, improving efficiency, minimizing risks, or discovering new opportunities. From a technical perspective, BI must be practical, reliable, and well integrated with existing systems. The book also highlights the need for strong leadership support, especially from a PI sponsor, someone influential enough to secure resources and encourage adoption across the organization. And another key point is organizational readiness before implementing BI. Companies must ensure that data is accurate and complete. Their staff have to right analytical skill and their culture supports data-driven decision making. And lastly, the author endorses the idea of BI roadmap, a long-term plan that guides the step-by-step development of BI projects. It ensures that each phase builds upon the previous one and aligns that the company's goals. And the conclusion for chapter 2 is teaches that BI success comes not from technology alone, but from clear justification, preparation, and continuous commitment. Next. The next is chapter 3, with focusing on defining requirements for business intelligence projects. This chapter reminds us that the success of BI depends on how clearly we understand that the business really needs. Often, BI projects fail not because of technical issue, but because of poor communication or unclear requirements between the business and IT teams. Defining requirements means creating a shared understanding of what data will be used, what kind of analysis is needed, and what result of reports are expected. The stage is the most human-centered phase of BI because it requires strong collaboration between business users, subject matter experts, and technical developers. Each group has a different perspective, so teamwork and clear communication are essential. The other also words about common mistake. There are requirements that are too vague, ignoring technical constraints, not involving real user in the process, and or simply copying a system without improvement. The goal of this phase is to produce a clear and detailed requirement document, a kind of blueprint for the BI system. It should include the objective, data source, integration method, and expected outcomes. By the end of this stage, both business and IT teams must agree on what will be built and how it will be measured. In short, chapter 3 teaches that good BI is built not only with data, but with communication, understanding, also collaboration. And the next is chapter 4. And now I'll discuss the chapter 4, and the title is The Business Intelligence Architecture Framework. In this chapter, the author introduced the architectural blueprint of a BI system. Just like a house needs a detailed plan before it's built, BI also needs a structured architecture to ensure everything works together properly. Without architecture, BI system can become messy with duplicate data, inconsistent reports, and wasted resources. Therefore, the BI architecture serves as a master plan that connects all systems, users, and technologies. The book explains that a good BI architecture has four main layers. They are: first, one is information architecture, define what data is needed, who will use it, and for what purpose. Second is data architecture, to describe how data will be stored, cleaned, and integrated. The third is technical architecture, It covers the infrastructure such as servers, networks, and security. And the last one is product architecture, specifying the tools and platforms like dashboard, ETL tools, and data warehouses. The chapter also discusses metadata, which is data about data, and data governance, ensuring that data is accurate, secure, and responsibly managed. Another key topic is security and privacy. As more users gain access to BI system, including employees, partners, or even customers, companies must implement access control, encryption, and privacy policy to protect sensitive data. Finally, the other warns against accidental architecture. BI systems that involve without a plan, leading to confusion and inconsistency. Instead, organizations should design a scalable, enterprise-wide BI architecture that can grow along with their business needs. In summary, Chapter 4 emphasizes that architecture is the foundation of successful BI. It ensures data consistency, system stability, and reliable insight for decision making. For the next chapter, I invite the next presenter.
Okay, thank you, Rivka, for that excellent of.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Rivka, for that excellent overview of the foundational concept. For this, I would like to welcome Via to present the summary of Chapter 5, Role 7, covering information, data, and technology architecture.
Okay, thank you, Olivia. The first chapter 5 is about information architecture. This chapter outlines the business context for BI solution. Its primary goals is to transform raw data into consistent, usable information. And then one, data integration framework. This is the core concept, a blueprint for turning data into information. It has two main stakes. Point one, data preparation, the foundational step of gathering, cleansing, and transforming data from source system into a data warehouse. Second point, data franchising, the process of taking prepared data and packaging it into user-friendly structure like data marts or OLAP scopes for analysis. And second, master data management. The chapter introduces MDM as the process for creating a single, consistent view of key business entities like customer or products. Next. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay, next. Chapter 6 about data architecture. This chapter provides the technical blueprint for how data is stored, integrated, and delivered. It traces the evolution from standalone data warehouse to a more sophisticated multi-layer approach. And first, analytical data architecture. This is the recommended modern architecture that organizes data flow into three logical systems. And the first point, system of record, where data is origin system. System of integration, where data is initialized, cleansed, and conformed model, where the central data warehouse or the hub fetch data to dependent data marts or the spokes. This avoids the creation of inconsistent data silos. And last, hybrid data model. The architecture uses a hybrid dimensional normalized data model in the data warehouse, combining the strengths of both modeling techniques. Next. Okay. Last chapter, chapter 7, about technology and product architecture. This chapter covers the specific technology used to build the BI system, emphasizing concept over vendor names. First, for technology layers. The BI technology architecture consists of four layers, each with expanding toolset. First point, first point, BI and analytic tools for users such as reporting, dashboard, data discovery, and predictive analytics. And second point, data warehousing database for storing analytical data, relational, columnar, and NoSQL option for big data. And third point, information access and data integration tools that move and transform data, which have evolved beyond simple batch ETL to include data visualization and real-time service. And last point, data source, the originating system, which now include cloud apps, social media, and unstructured data. And two, product evaluation. A formal evaluation process is critical for selecting the right tools. The goal is to find the best fit for your organization needs, skill, and budget, not necessarily the product with the most feature. The process included creating requirement, create a shortlist, and conducting a proof of concept.
Okay, thank you, Via. With the architecture in place, we now need to structure the data itself. Data modeling is the cornerstone of building effective BI application. This next section will cover everything from foundational ER modeling to the more BI specific dimensional modeling techniques. To guide, to guide us through this, please welcome Eva to discuss chapter 8 through 10.
Okay, thank you, Olivia. Next. Okay, for the chapter 8, Foundational of Data Modeling. In this chapter, explain how data models provide the blueprint for BI system. It introduces the three modeling levels. The first one is conceptual models. Business-oriented show and entitles and relationship without technical detail. The second one is logical models, add more precision, attributes, relationship key, and normalization. The third one is physical models. Implementable design in database include table, indexes, and storage. The main approach discussed is entity relationship or ER modeling. It uses entity, attributes, and relationship to represent business process. ER modeling ensure referential integrity and eliminates redundancy through normalization. In practice, most systems aim for third normal form. The, the chapter stresses that ER models are excellent for transactional system or OLTP, but not ideal for BI. Because queries become too complex, ER modeling is still important because it is the starting point before translating data into BI-ready structure. Next. Next is chapter 9, dimensional modeling. This chapter shifts focus from ER to dimensional modeling, which is more effective for BI and data warehousing because it simplifies data for business user. The core concepts are fact table, contain numeric measure, for example, like sales, amount, and quantity, and foreign keys linking to dimension different types exist, transactional fact, periodic snapshot, accumulating snapshot. Next is dimension, provide descriptive content such as product, customer, time, and geography. The next one is attribute, detail properties inside dimension. Next is screen, the level of detail capture, like for example, sales per transaction, per day, per region. The next one is schema, star schema, snowflake schema, and hybrid. In this chapter, compare ER versus dimensional modeling. In conclusion, ER is better for data capture or transaction, and dimensional better for data analysis like reporting, OLAP, and dashboard. It also explains dimensional hierarchy like data, geography, and product, which allow a drill down and roll up in reports. Other special cases include role-playing dimension, like for example, order date versus ship date, and degenerate dimension, IDs without attribute, and factless fact tables. And the main takeaway, dimensional modeling translate complex business data into simple intuitive structure that makes BI queries faster and easier. Next. Chapter 10, Advanced Dimensional Modeling. In this chapter, build now on the basic by covering real-world BI challenges where data is more complex and dynamic. The key advanced topic is, first one is hierarchy, balance, rigid, unbalanced, and variable depth hierarchies. The second one is slowly changing dimension, handling historical change in dimension, also cover rapidly changing dimension. The third one is spatial dimension, like causal dimension, multi-value dimension, jump dimension. The third one is advanced modeling structure, like outrigger tables, bridge tables, mini dimension, and the other topics is value band reporting, heterogeneous product modeling, hot swap table dimension. And in this chapter, the focus here is making dimensional models like robust, flexible, and scalable for large enterprise that face changing data, regulatory requirements, and high analytic demands.
Okay. Thank you, Eva, for detailing how to model our data. Now let's move from design to development. This part covers the most labor-intensive phase of any BI project, data integration, and how to design the front-end application that user will interact with. I would now like to invite Olive to present the summary of chapter 11 through 13. Okay, next. In the chapter 11, data integration, design, and development. Chapter 11 emphasizes that data integration, or DI, is the most labor-intensive part of any BI project, often consuming up to 75% of the project's time. The main goal of DI is to transform raw data from various sources into a unified, clean, and consistent information asset. For successful DI, the book recommended a holistic, incremental, and iterative approach. Key principles for successful data integration include: point 1, holistic approach. DI should be designed with an enterprise with perspective to avoid creating redundant and inconsistent data silos. Point 2, incremental and iterative development. Instead of attempting a massive all-at-once project, the architecture should be built incrementally. This allows teams to learn and adapt to changing business needs. Point 3, reusability and documentation. Creating reusable DI components and maintaining thorough documentation are crucial for ensuring consistency, improving productivity, and enabling future projects to leverage existing work. Auditing capabilities are also necessary to comply with regulation. And the next, chapter 12, data integration, design, and development. Chapter 11, the chapter also outlines the DI design process, which begins with prerequisites like a defined data architecture and data requirements. This is followed by creating conceptual, logical, and physical models for each stage of the data workflow. The design must also account for business requirements such as data latency, tracking historical change or SGD, and security. A significant part of the design involves creating detailed sort to target mapping that document the flow and transformation of data from its origin to its final destination. Prototyping and thorough testing are present as essential practice to validate the design and ensure data quality before deployment. Next, chapter 12, data integration process. Chapter 12 argues strongly against manual coding for data integration, highlighting its long-term costs and inefficiency, and advocating for the use of dedication DI tools. While initial costs for tools may seem high, they are significant benefit in productivity, reusability, and governance that far outweigh the investment. First point, access and delivery service. The service handles the extraction of data from a wide variety of sources, including database, file, and application, and the loading of that data into target system. 2-point data ingestion service. This includes process like change data capture or CDC, which identifies and processes only the data that has changed since the last update, and slowly changing dimension or SCD, which manage historical change to dimensional data. Third point is data profiling service, an essential step to understand the structure, content, and quality of search data before integration begins. This helps prevents surplus and ensures the final data is reliable. Next. And 4 point is data transformation service. This process convert raw data into meaningful information by applying business rules, performing calculation, and restructuring data to fit the target schemas. 5 point is data quality service. The service enforces data consistency and accuracy by implementing rules for data confirmation, consistency, and cleansing. The chapter stresses that data quality is a process that must be built into the entire DI workflow. And last point is process and operations management. The service manage the executing of DI jobs, including scheduling, error handling, auditing, and performance monitoring, ensuring the reliability and efficiency of the integration process. Okay. Last chapter by me is BI application. To be better target the design of BI application, the chapter introduced the concept of BI personas, which segment user based on their analytical needs and skill. First point, casual consumers. The majority of users who need straightforward reports and dashboard to perform their job. 2 point, analysts. The individuals whose roles require them to regularly explore and analyze data using tools like pivot table and data discovery application. 3 point, power users, a small but influential group of tech-savvy business users who often build their own analytics and are early adopters of new tools. Last point, data scientists, specialists who use advanced analytics and predictive modeling to forecast future outcomes. The chapter also provides best practice for BI design layout, emphasizing clarity and functionality over flashy visuals. Key recommendations include maintaining consistency, keeping the design simple, placing important information prominently, and using colors judiciously. Finally, the chapter stresses the importance for matching the type of visualization to the type of analysis being performed. A sample using bar chart for comparison, line chart for trends, and maps for geographic data to ensure the information is communicated effectively. Okay, thank you. I'll live beyond the standard development process. The world of BI include advanced analytic and common real-world challenge. This section explore BI design in more detail, introduce advanced analysis, and discuss the persistent issue of data shadow system. To explain these critical topics, please welcome Destina to present chapter 14 through 16.
Okay, thank you, Olivia. One, one chapter, BI design and development. This chapter discusses the process of design and developing business intelligence application, the user-facing part of BI, where that becomes actionable insight. One point, purpose of BI application. BI application provide user with access to data to this dashboard, report, OLED cubes, scorecards, and visual analytics. The goal the goal is to turn complex data into understandable information that support decision making. Okay, next point, principle. Design principle. BI design requires attention to usability, consistency, navigation, data accuracy, performance, and security. Good BI design focus on user need rather than only technical compatibility. Then, and last point, the types of BI application include standard report, dashboard, ad hoc queries, Mashook scorecard, and visual discovery tools. Modern BI design emphasizes interactive and self-service capability. The still same slide. This one next point, design process. The BI design life cycle typically move to seg, seg, seg and move up, plot visual layout to discuss ideas, wireframe and storyboard, design, navigation and flow, prototype test, usability and data presentation, and then development and testing ensure consistency with business requirement. Next, testing and deployment. Development teams perform unit integration and system testing to validate performance and accuracy. BI application must also go to with user acceptance testing before development. Okay, next, capture capture 15 advanced analytic. This capture introduction advanced analytic, which extends beyond traditional reporting and dashboard to uncover deeper insight and prediction. The definition and scope advanced advanced analytic include predictive analytic, data mining, text analytic, optimize simulation, and machine learning. This method help business move for from what's happened to what will happen and what should we do. Role of big data. The rise of big data makes advanced analytic essential business and must analyze both structured and unstructured data in real time. One point, analytical sandbox and business impact. Organization should create analytical sandbox, controlled environment where analytics can explore data without disrupting product system. They promote agility and innovation while maintaining if governments, business impact, and French analytic life competitive and fetch by improvement forecasting, detecting, detecting, optimize, and personality marketing. Okay, challenge data quality issues, skill gaps as advanced analytic, integrity defaults, and then offer bold expectation. Okay, capture 16 data shadow system. This capture because this capture focus on data shadow system, also known as SpiritMate, an official data system created by business user outside IT control, typically using spreadsheet of or desktop database. Definition: a data shadow system is a non-sanctioned user-built data system that fills gap left by official BI system. They usually emergent because user find it process too slow or late. One point, reason for existence. One point, fast and flexible solution for urgent data needs. 2 point family tool like Excel or Access. 3 point log or proper BI tools or data integration. And then business user need for autonomy and quick analysis. The productivity track and coalition. The system make business unit feel productive, but in reality, they create duplicate effort, manual error, and decision making confusion. Coalition eliminating shadow system is not about like like listing user, is about empowering them with just concern. Okay, uh, point problems and rates-nya itu yang one point data inconsistency, 2 point data integrity, 3 point operational inefficiency, and then security and compliance solutionnya. 1 point identify and catalog, 2 point integrate or migrate, and then collaborate.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Destina. As we've seen, technology is just one part of the equation. To close our presentation, our final section focus on project management, data governance, and organizational structure like centers of excellence. For this, I'm pleased to invite Tata to cover chapter 17 through 19.
Okay, thank you, Olivia. Next. 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 Okay, this chapter 17, People, Process, and Politics. This chapter argues that technology is the easy part of a BI project. The true challenge and critical success factor are the human elements, people, process, and politics. Project failure and most often caused by a shortfall in expectation, not by technology shortcomings. First, the business and IT relationship. It should view business group as customer or partners rather than just user. This mindset fosters a more respectful and collaborative relationship where clear two-way communication is crucial for success. Then, roles and responsibilities. The business group is responsible for the front office, defining the business context, rules, and metric. IT is responsible for the back office, handling the technical architecture, data integration, and infrastructure needed to deliver the data. And then building the team. The successful BI team requires project sponsorship, project management, and core development team for business analysis, architecture, data integration, and BI development. And on extend team for testing and operation. And then data governance. A data governance program is a critical, people-centric initiative that should be driven and owned by the business, not IT. Its purpose is to enforce consistent definitions and rules to ensure data is treated as a valuable corporate asset. Next. Chapter 18, Project Management. Effective project management is essential for BI, and the approach must be different from typical IT project. This chapter advocates for managing BI as a strategic, ongoing program rather than a series of disconnected tactical projects. Establish a BI program instead of one-off project that created silos. BI effort should be guided by an enterprise-wide program that aligns with the overall business strategy. This program should have a long-term roadmap and release schedule similar to how a software company manages its product. And then BI assessment. Before starting a project, a BI assessment should be conducted to answer key questions about scope, cost, and approach. This involves a discovery phase, assessing the current state, an analysis phase, identifying gaps, and a recommendation phase, creating a roadmap. And then hybrid project methodology. A pure waterfall or agile methodology is not ideal for a full BI project. The recommended approach is a hybrid, is a waterfall framework for foundational work like architecture and data integration, but use an interactive or agile approach like prototyping for building user-facing BI application where requirements often evolve through of through user feedback. And then work breakdown starter, WBS should be used to break down the project by its deliverables, that what, rather than by activities, that how. This provides a clear framework for scoping, planning, and managing the project. Next. Okay, this one is last chapter, chapter 19, Centers of Excellence. This chapter introduces Centers of Excellence as cross-functional teams designed to solve the problem of disconnected application and data silos across an enterprise. COES coordinate activities, share expertise, and implement best practice. And what PICOE and DICOE? Business Intelligence COE or BI is a cross-functional team of business and IT members that offers all BI activities, focusing on analytics and meeting user needs. Data integration COE is a more technical team that focuses specifically on data integration process, establishing a consistent architecture and vision for how data moves to the enterprise. And then the need for COEs. COEs are necessary because companies are naturally organized into functional or geographic silos, which inevitably leads to reporting and data silos. The silos result in inconsistent data, wasted resources, and lost productivity. Then, organizational models. A COE doesn't have to be a centralized department. It can be a virtual team that shares best practice, a group that sets common technology standards, or a more formal shared service team for various projects. And then the data management trilogy. The best approach for enabling a data-driven enterprise is to combine three pillars: a data governance program, a COE, and a DICOE. Together, they provide strategic oversight, manage analytics, and ensure consistent data integration. Okay.
Okay, thank you Tata and thank you to all our presenter. We hope this presentation has provided a valuable overview of the key takeaways from the Business Intelligence Quick Book. Thank you for time and attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.